and also our broadcast. And defer to the chair, look to any online audience we have here.
Okay, I'm Joe Carper. I'm the clerk actually, but we have no chair or vice chair. Both of their term limits expired last month, so I'm sitting in acting as chair, and Tara will be the note taker for the meeting.
That's correct. Yep.
So roll call. We have, let the record show, Mark, Tara, and I are all present. I think we can do a quick approval of the minutes. I distributed them earlier this week to everyone. Have a motion for approval of the June 20th minutes.
I see no issues. I put in the motion to approve the minutes.
I second that.
All in favor? Okay. Public comment. This is usually the time where we have public comment on any issue that does not pertain to either the two applications in front of us. So any general comment from the public or from anyone present?
Not seeing any online attendance. We thought perhaps there might be some folks online, but
Yeah, I think you might see
They
somebody.
may join
but
later.
You might be trying to get their Zoom going. Who knows?
Okay, so let's move on then to the old business. 12 Fruit Street, the installation of the vent pipe, where we are with the letter to the owner. I happened to meet with accidentally with the owner of 12 Fruit over the weekend, and he did receive the third letter. He had been away. He said he will request a certificate. So that's kind of where we stand on that.
Okay, and I just asked Diane before this meeting to give us a copy of that letter, because she hadn't copied us on that third letter because the dates are all, she shifted the date, which we expect that they would submit their application. So it's August 9th is our day.
Okay.
She hasn't seen anything yet.
Great. Okay. Looks like Melinda's here. So we have one guest. Okay, new business, 2 Fruit Street, the request for a certificate of appropriateness. I'd like to kind of keep things a little bit more formal than we usually do in these meetings. So I'd like the applicant to do your presentation first. We'll have a brief commission discussion followed by public comment on this particular application. We can ask clarifying questions after each speaker. I'll summarize where we are, and then the commission will deliberate and make a decision for deferral. And these are described by the rules, this process. So let's hold questions from anybody until the applicant does its presentation. So you're on.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Pro Tem, I guess I would say.
There you go.
Lisa Mead, Talman Costa, 30 Green Street in Newburyport, on behalf of the applicant, Karen and Christopher Marquette. And with me this evening are the Marquettes, as well as Patrick Ahern, who is the architect on the project. Go to the next slide, please, Andy. So this is for 2 Fruit Street, and Karen and Christopher proposed to renovate the existing non-conforming single-family home by adding a small 115 square foot addition, 1-story addition on the rear easterly side of the structure, kind of in the crook, if you will, of the L, which is in the back. They also proposed to make a number of cosmetic upgrades to the property, including replacing the aluminum storm windows with wood storm windows, extending the driveway, and rebuilding an existing brick wall with an arbor gate, to name a few of them, which we will go through in detail. The property is located, you go to the next slide, Andy, in the R3 zoning district. The Fruit Street Historic District under the ordinance was constructed in or around 1800, according to the assessor's records, 1800 according to the district data sheets, where it's also classified as contributory in the district, but 1805 on the Form B, where it's also listed as a double house. This is in fact a double house, so it's a shared single, so to speak, right? We call them deeded half houses in Newburyport. And of course, this is it. But this is looking as if you were standing on Prospect Street and the house at the corner of Prospect and Fruit were not there. So this is the side of the house and not the front of the house. And in the back there, you see what the proposed addition will look like, which Mr. Hearn will review in a moment. Next slide, please. Here is a MyMaps view or GIS view, if you will. And you can see where we are, one property up from Prospect Street. And it's the last house on the left as you drive down or north on Fruit Street. And it's the northernmost half of the house. Next slide, please. And here's some photographs that Mr. Ahern's team took. So you can again see the side of the house where the proposed addition is going to go in that back right-hand corner. If you're looking at the top left-hand slide, if you move over to the right side of the top, again, you can see the really nice gardens in the back, and then where the proposed addition is going to be. This also gives you an idea of where the wall with the arbor gate is going to go as well. And then, of course, these bottom photos are from the backyard. On the site plan, which you'll see in a little bit, it describes that front wooden picket fence as a brick wall, but that's because there is a low brick wall underneath it. It's, you know, just a couple of rows of courses of brick, but essentially it's the picket fence. Next slide, please. This is the neighborhood. So this is everything on the even side or the westerly side of Fruit Street. Similar Federalist style architecture, similar sizes. You can also see most all of them have driveways 2-car deep into Fruit Street. Excuse me, into the property off of Fruit Street. But this side of the street obviously is very similar in these even numbers on Fruit Street, if you will. And I think also interesting is the Sanborn map. So the Sanborn map is the bottom right hand map. This property at one time had a very large carriage house or barn on the back of it, which is no longer present.
Well,
Next.
1980.
1980, right? Yeah. Here's the existing conditions plan. And again, you can see the back part of the house where the proposed addition is to be, which currently has granite steps leading into that 2-story addition on the back. You can see where the current driveway is and the current gate that I described in white pickets a little while ago. The proposal is to move that back and then have the brick wall with the arbor gate redone towards the rear or the front of that driveway, if you will. And Patrick will go into more detail on that shortly. The next slide, please. And this is the proposed condition, and you can see that from a footprint point of view, the addition, 15 square foot addition goes in the back. It steps in from that corner. And frankly, given the house on Prospect Street is not visible in any real means from Fruit Street. And you can also see where the proposed drive is, which are actually, it's not a paved drive, and Patrick will go over that in great detail when he reviews his plans. Next slide, please. So from a high level, before Patrick goes into the details, so as I said, the proposal is to replace the aluminum storm windows with wood storm windows. On the door, there is a new coach light that's going to be added to the main entrance. There are no changes on the roof. There are no changes to the chimney. They will be adding new wood shutters. The sizes, of course, will be appropriate to the window size. New painted window boxes on the first floor, and replace again the storm windows with wood storm windows. Next slide, please. The driveway proposal is extend to the brick wall, which we'll review momentarily. And the driveway is to be a brick ribbon driveway and not paved, as I indicated. The existing rear 2-story addition is on the existing 2-story addition. The proposal is to replace the roof eave with a new roof eave with fascia and add frise detailing the soffit. Detailing at the soffit and replace the clapboards to match the existing at the repaired upper level of the facade. And then on the new addition, it's to construct the 115 square foot 1-story addition It steps in from the original structure, as I indicated, it has a flat roof, which will include that balcony. And the east facade will include the 12 light windows with recessed panels. The foundation will include a brick veneer, and the door surround will include 10-inch painted pilasters with coach lights, which will match the existing main front door. And if you go to the next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Patrick. You go to the next slide. And keep going. I got a little ahead of you. Keep going. There you go. So I'm going to turn that over to Patrick now.
So, on the illustrative site plan, you can see in the dotted red line at the rear, the one-story addition that meets the criteria of the Department of the Interior standards, and that it's not an exact replica of the house, but it's within the spirit of the house. It's virtually not visible from the public way. And that the driveway is a combination of granite and brick, so it reads really as a patio or terrace area when there's not a car parked there. It allows them to have the two-car parking that most everyone else has. And then with the new brick and arbor, it helps define the rear terrace and the garden area in a very nice way. That's the essence of the site plan. Next. That's the way it exists right now. You can see on the rear two-story L, it has a sliding glass door and there's some single light windows in the kitchen with a little hooded detail that's not historically correct as it exists. And the windows up above are disjointed and don't have any relationship to the primary facade, again, as you'll see momentarily in our renderings. Next. So here, looking at the same view, the house then has its proper shutters, and pins and holdbacks in Essex green, the entry door and the coach lights at the main body, the window boxes, and then that modest 115 square foot one-story addition that's set back from the corner board with the basket weave-like railing. That's the decorative railing up above, and then 3 windows on the second floor that are more appropriate to the house than would exist today. And that's what's happening on that facade.
That piece on the far right is the other owner's
Right.
The other owner's house. So from the half house condition on the left, from the streetscape, that's the way it exists today. And then looking from the rear of the property, looking back, what you see on the right is the current 2-story addition brought forward from the rear of the main body of the house. Next. This shows in the renovating program, the shutters, the pins and the holdbacks, and the window boxes along Fleet Street, and then the more detailed fence and arbor on the brick podium that defines the backyard. Likewise, in the drawing on the right, again, looking from the rear portion of the yard, you see where the modest kitchen addition is, and how that's detailed to really give some nice historically appropriate character, but not competing with the primary facade in any way, and set back from the primary facade, not on the street facade, but on the driveway side, if you will. Next. Similar details in terms of the mix of old granite pavers with old brick to define that parking area, but also when the car isn't there, it really reads like a garden. The railing detail shown on the far right, the shutters with the pins and holdbacks, window boxes, and northeast lantern copper light fixture, which we set cuts in as well. Next.
So, so the 2 criteria that the Historic Commission has, the Historic District Commission has, is that the historic and architectural value and significance essentially meet the Secretary of the Interior standards here. The proposed work and proposed materials are consistent and similar to the features of the building and the surrounding areas. The addition of wood shutters is appropriate to the Federalist style structure. The replacement of the aluminum storms and intrusion with wood storms, again, is appropriate for the historic structure. The arrangement of the window boxes and bracketing of the door and coach lights help highlight the important details of the structure. The proposed one-story addition in the rear is designed to meet the Secretary of the Interior standards by being subordinate to and stepped in from the original structure. The detailing is complementary but not a replica of the historic structure. The proposed driveway extension is consistent with the other driveways in the district. The detail of the brick ribbon and granite apron are representative of historically appropriate materials for the drive. And as Patrick said, read as a garden when there's not a car there. Further, the landscape masonry wall and arbor gate are located within the property and not on the streetscape, again, away from the main part of the house. As far as the new construction standard is, again, the one-story proposed addition in the rear meets the Secretary of the Interior standards. Additionally, the detailing is complementary but not a replica of the historic structure. Also, I would say that we provided 9 letters of support from all of the neighbors. 8, 9, but 2 of them are from the same household, so 8 letters of support. Those are all from all the surrounding properties and then further up Fruit Street. So we're happy to answer any questions, and we request the board issue a certificate of appropriateness.
Thank you.
You're
Great
welcome.
presentation. Committee members, do you have any questions, clarification?
Great presentation. I don't have any questions. It seems like a project that respects the architecture and does not seem to change the character of the building.
I have some questions. So I just organized my questions in order of like kind of different sections. And it might not have followed exactly like your presentation section, so. I'm wondering if we can get further details on the shutters. I understand that they're wood and that they'll be, but can we get some cut sheet?
I think we have that.
I think we provided to the commission the greater detail of all of the
Did I not see that?
It came in, I think yesterday.
It was a separate.
Yep.
Yeah,
separate filing.
where is that, Ben?
So. I'm not sure. Shutters were.
Yeah, I don't think the shutters were on
Oh,
there.
here it is. It's the last item. Oh, that's just the paint.
It's basically the Timberline shutter series, and the photograph that was put in the back is from their catalog. And it has the proper World Rub bronze pins and the holdback, the S holdback, and the rod is shown in the bottom section of the shutter. So that's
If you can go to the,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah, I
Blow
saw
that
the
up.
photo, it just
so that's
didn't.
that's
it
right.
didn't
That's
have
right from the catalog.
Okay,
And then the shutter size will be accurate, so when they close, they're the exact size of what the window is.
That's for the guidelines.
And the slats go this way when they're back, that way when they're shut.
Yep.
You know, most people do it.
Yeah, we can put them on right.
okay, this is just, I'm sure this is the case, I'm just clarifying that there's no chimney changes, even though the exhibit, the base specifications talk about chimney.
No change.
Can we go, okay, you're on it. So in looking at this, I wondered if the foundation of the addition was higher than the foundation of the house.
So,
No, just the perspective.
and it's a brick veneer as well, so
Which is exactly what? What is the?
it's thin brick, it's real brick, it's just cut. So you have a concrete foundation and then the brick is applied, so it reads as an old foundation.
Gotcha.
At some point, and you mentioned it, Lisa, and it's on this drawing, it says new fascia and frieze detail. But I don't think we got
That's at the second floor there.
detail. So is it just molding?
It's just some molding and trim. Right now, if you look at the photographs, it looks like a suburban house.
Okay,
So we've just beefed up the trim to be more consistent with what a
Yep.
federal colonial would have.
And that's all wood, right? You're
Yes.
Not using AZEK or any kind of. Yeah,
Gutters. Are they going to be, did I see somewhere that they're gonna be copper, not copper? What's the material?
The shutters are a box shutter.
Sorry. Gutter.
Gutters,
Oh, the-
gutters.
Well, the downspouts are box and the gutters are basically wood that are integrated into the
Okay,
the soffit too.
but that little piece that goes from the top to the downspout,
copper.
that's copper, okay. Sorry, I have a lot of questions, just wanted to clarify. Okay. Brick wall. Can we look at that, Andy, maybe the view that was from the back towards the front, the elevation view
Yep.
might help us?
It does.
Right, so is the height of that brick wall higher than the existing brick wall?
Slightly,
Can we define slightly?
about 10 inches.
10 inches. This is a clarification. I didn't see any actual equipment on pads on the exterior other than what was existing, but the exhibit, the base specification talks about exterior pads for equipment. So I just saw that one,
We have,
Bit in the
we
back,
have
which
the
is
HVAC
existing.
unit there. Said HVAC in the back,
and that's existing,
yes.
okay. I wondered if you're relocating the granite steps that are existing or replacing with different granite steps.
Those granite steps will stay the way they are, they don't have to change.
I'm sorry, at the addition,
Oh, at the addition?
yeah,
Well, yeah, they're gonna move because.
but are
there's
they gonna be
a-
those granite steps or are they gonna be different pieces of granite, new pieces of granite?
Depends how easily they get moved. But
Uh,
if not, they would be used granite. In other words, we're not gonna
Right.
use, it would be variegated face granite. It's not gonna be shiny new granite like in a cemetery. or
Yeah, yeah, exactly, okay,
The intention is to use it. Right. That exists.
that's my questions.
I've got a couple of clarifying questions as well, too. Touched on the brick veneer, the eave, tell me a little bit more about the wooden storm windows. Are these removable storm windows?
They have basically a hook they go on the top.
Like I
Yeah,
grew up
lock
with, in the old days, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're replicating the old shutter, the old storms
So you're gonna take those down and store them someplace?
in the basement.
Upstairs?
No,
They're gonna stay out here for that one.
All right. The, I like your outside lamps, and I'm just wanna remind people the guidelines about keeping the wattage down and keeping the lighting in the property and not spilling over to the extent possible
I
over.
like to use the vintage bulbs, you know, that are
Yeah.
40 watt.
Yeah.
With the filament that you see. Those are nice.
Perfect. Okay. So there'll be no additional,
It's hard to-
there'll be no additional AC units or heat pumps or any condensers or anything outside.
Not that we contemplate.
Will there be any perimeter fencing as part of this? As it is now. Will any existing trees be removed for the parking? Great. And then the only other question,
Sorry, what was the answer to that?
No,
no. I guess the only other question is the balcony. And the guidelines do say balconies and roof walks are generally inappropriate additions.
well,
Particularly
it's really a railing detail, it's a cresting, you don't really step out on it.
Oh, you're not gonna be able to step out. Okay. Perfect. No, I like the setback of the new work from the original structure. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's follows the Secretary's guidelines, so I think the design complements without replicating the existing structure really well. You know, materials seem appropriate in keeping with the historic nature of the building. Yeah, I think the brick wall is great and appears appropriate for the type of house. So let's move on to any other public comment. I see,
Just to clarify on your question about the railing. Got pictures of about 15 houses, federal houses, within about 200 yards of the house. With
Same
Yeah.
Chippendale like rail.
yeah,
up on high
right,
and around in the neighborhood, so it's not inappropriate.
we're kind of down market though from High Street. So.
That's
I
what the
think-
board here, so I don't know. We're trying to elevate, the neighborhood.
I think it was good. Any public comment? Or questions? None? Okay. I think the applicant has done a great job at presenting to us what they're trying to do. There's no public comment. We did get 9 positive responses from the abutters and neighbors. No one commented negatively, to any extent. Any comments, deliberations?
Yeah, then close public comment,
Yeah.
so we can deliberate.
Yes.
So I appreciate that you brought up the issue of the balcony and the railings, because, I also saw that, you know, balconies and roof arcs are generally inappropriate additions, particularly if visible from a public way. I, am not a surveyor, so was not able to sort of manage to determine how much would be visible, but when I went out onto Prospect Street, you can certainly see that part of the house, you know, from Prospect Street, so I don't know to what extent. So I have some concern about that, and Andy, can you go to that shows the view of that? So is that, I read that as a door onto that balcony area. So,
That's what I asked, and I was told it was.
There's
no
no,
access.
there's no decking. It's just to get out there to clean the deck off. We don't envision anybody sitting out there.
We're not gonna.
No umbrellas or,
No,
I
I
think,
don't even think it's gonna be deep enough to put a chair out there. We would not use it.
I still think, like, it is our job to look at the guidelines and determine whether it meets, so, I mean, I personally think that.
if you want to make that door a window, it's not a problem. Again, that door is not visible from the public way at all. So it's a question of jurisdiction.
Can I have a point of order, because I think that we're deliberating now, right? And if we ask the applicant a question, they can answer us, but we're not engaged in it. That's
we can do that,
my understanding.
We can do that.
Meeting should be.
we can do that, finish.
I think we can have a conversation about. So I just think that I don't think that fits the guidelines. I mean, I think it's attractive, but I'm not sure that it fits the guidelines. I don't know. You can certainly disagree on that.
I disagree, I think it's within keeping of what is around, and I really don't think that it violates guidelines in any fashion, especially.
Yeah, I would agree. The reason I brought it up is I was concerned that there'd be umbrellas out there and laundry and whatnot, but first of all, you can't see the door from the street, and you can barely see the balcony. And I think it's very tasteful, and I think having nothing there would kind of just seem a little barren. So I have no problem.
Can we talk about the parking? So, you know, this is from the guidelines. Parking, providing off-street parking can significantly alter property. Applicants are encouraged to consider all alternative design options. Design should minimize the green space converted to paving. Front yards and entry walkways should not be converted to parking. Parked vehicles should not dominate the view from the public way. Landscaping should be integrated with the parking areas to minimize their visual impact and to shield the view of vehicles from the street. Existing trees should not be removed to expand parking area. If necessary, exiting front fencing. So, the commission, if you remember back, I don't think either, any of us were on at the time, but there was a request for parking
I was
to
on.
be, you were, to be added at, 14.
Yep.
And
Between 14 and 16.
that was declined based upon my understanding was, that, the reading of this. So I feel like the expansion of the parking to, if Andy can, is there a way Andy can show the existing and the proposed, which are on two separate pages, so maybe a bit of a challenge? Um,
But,
so there was a, yeah, like in there, an existing. If we go back a little, there was a,
the earliest one, I think, is this.
yeah, no, I think there was a drawing that, just like a, is it not that right there?
You're looking for a photo or a plan?
No, it's a plan.
Oh,
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
I
there's
just
this
want to just give some information since everybody wasn't here for that application, just to make sure you have the facts that you're all thinking about the same thing. There wasn't a driveway there, and there was a fence across that area. There had historically been a driveway, but there wasn't a driveway, and there was a fence. And so the commission denied it.
Where was this?
This was 14 Fruit Street, probably 8 years ago, maybe.
Oh, that,
10
I
years
can,
ago.
I can speak to that too.
Yes, I just wanted, it's
No,
a much different situation.
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, okay, all right,
Yes,
thanks.
thanks, yep.
Okay, can you go out a little so that it's, so you can see the whole? So, my looking at this is it's more than doubling the size of paving at that side of the house. So, I just think it's something we should discuss, it is, I don't feel that fits the guide. I know it's an inconvenience, it's based on.
Well, again, I'm looking at other houses on Fruit Street. And the house next door has a very long driveway for 2 cars in front. So
But that was
that's a precedent.
that was existing before the district went into effect.
I don't think I have a big problem with this. I think it's done tastefully. I think the brick wall certainly makes, a statement in terms of delineating the parking. Yes, it adds a car in there, but I don't think that it really changes the nature. I think we can nitpick on the guidelines and go into more detail on the guidelines.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of revisit that, and I don't think it's an analogous situation at all, with, back at 14, between 13 and 16, 18. There were a couple things there. There was never any historic driveway there. There was no curb cut. There was no room to open a car door without infringing on the neighbor's property. It really was, I think, a different set of circumstances. This, I think, is one of the more attractive, will be one of the more attractive tandem parking lots, so to speak, in the neighborhood. And I think there is a garden element to this with the granite, the materials used, the landscaping around it. I don't want to just use the precedent that all the other neighbors have them, because they were all kind of grandfathered in before the ordinance. But I don't want to use the rejection of the 14 as the case here, because I think it's really different situation. So I don't find it troublesome. It's not really changing the streetscape. I mean, it's pushing the driveway back a little bit, a lot. But I don't think it's I think it's stepping out to the area.
Okay, so I'll just say that I disagree, and I'm really focusing on these two sentences in the guidelines. Design should minimize the green spaces converted to paving. Front yards and entry walkways should not be converted to parking. So, I just feel I need to say it. And I feel that really is our job here is to really look at the guidelines and apply them. I think it is a difficult situation. For, you know, sort of the precedent on the street, but I think one of the things the guidelines does talk about is that everything when this went into place was grandfathered. But if you were going to begin to touch something that was grandfathered, then you needed to, then the commission would be even more scrutiny to sort of look at that, to say, okay, now you're touching something that's grandfathered, so.
I mean, there was there's an historic driveway there. That, you know, there was a two-story structure back there, so it's not as if, you know, a driveway never existed. So that was kind of part of my thing.
Some people disagree. And then I just wanted to just mention a point about the windows on the back and the additions, so maybe we can look at that elevation. Thank you. Yeah, that one is what, yeah, that's perfect.
Was you?
I think this looks great from the outside. Honestly, I think it looks great. I'm just calling to people's attention this statement from the guidelines. Window arrangements that create a large wall area of glass are usually not perfect. So make sure we are aware of that.
Guess I took that to mean in the past, large, these are 6/6, you know, provided like, windows as opposed to sheets of glass. I mean, it's definitely improvement from what's there now.
True, but it's a lot more glass area than is there now.
Right, but it doesn't, I mean, it's broken up.
And just
Better, yeah. Any other comments?
Nope.
Is anyone gonna make a motion?
so are you gonna? I mean, I think if you make a motion, I'm gonna vote no, because I feel pretty strongly about the driveway. But I want to be clear that I'm not voting no, because I don't, you know, approve of the rest of it, because I think it, in general, it's really great. I think it's very thoughtful. I appreciate it. I just feel like, you know, we have guidelines, and that's our job. So if you're gonna do it all as a whole rather than, and are there any other details we need them to provide? You feel comfortable with everything?
I feel perfectly confident. I do. So you want to, Mark?
I'll make the motion to accept the project as described by the owners of 2 Fleet Street.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So,
Opposed?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. We appreciate your time.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. all right.
No, no.
Can we move on to 24?
Yeah, we have to go to ZBA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
Yes.
Good luck with ZBA.
Thanks.
Who's presenting, the applicants?
No.
They're not here.
No.
They're-
All right, so that was no one there.
That was.
There was no
another
new
event.
business.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. so-
Yeah, sorry, Andy.
That's good.
All right, so let's consider the application for a certificate of appropriateness for 24 Prospect Street. Jim Kirkham informed me that he couldn't be here tonight. There's a medical emergency in the family. He did submit all the online materials and said that if there's any, if he can't approve it, if there's any questions, he can address them at the August meeting. Okay. But his application says to place wood shutters on the front and sides of the building, shutter color, Essex green. He included a picture of the shutters, and there you go. And, the whatever you call them, the shutters sit up.
Kids, I think.
Hints. Yes. I have one. I have this exact same hinges on my house. I don't think we need, and I think that historic photo is great that shows the shutters from the early 1900s. So any public comment on this? Out there in the world? Okay, there's none. Want to deliberate, or do you think we need more information?
I do need a little more information. One will be initially. Shutters removed. Have they been removed recently?
I never saw it.
No?
Since we lived here 12 years ago, they were never shut. I think you just,
No, so it's been. Yeah, I walked by, it's unfortunate.
I know. Any comments?
Yeah, I think the only thing is because the application was a little sparse, maybe we ask them to sort of. Or we just put it into our certificate of appropriateness that they have to follow the the shutters should look like they're operable, they should be
I
the
think
right
that's pretty
size to close, because they didn't
Yeah.
include any of that, we could just put in our certificate, like. Those specific details straight from the guidelines and say that they will do them.
And just have wording that says it must conform with, to guideline, whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good suggestion. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
All right. Well, let's sort of figure that out later.
So
Good morning.
I am sorry that I'm going back to this when they're not here, but just to go back to the 2 Fruit Street, so this certificate for appropriateness that we actually issue.
I will request it from the,
It seems like it should be pretty detailed, but I spent a lot of time looking at the certificate for 1618. And I think you need to actually kind of lay out every aspect of it, maybe referencing back their package.
I don't know, what is needed.
So the 1618 was like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I guess from my perspective, I think you're looking for.
Yeah, we're looking for your guide.
Obviously every board's a little different, every set of regulations is a little different. I guess the question here is, in my view, is there a specific thing you're trying to address in there? So for instance, there's 2 main things that might be addressed, right? One is your findings, and it's consistent with the, the guidelines and regulations. The other one is, are there any special conditions that you want to clarify, in there? Are you trying to address clarification regarding consistency of your findings, or more about the specifications and conditions?
I think I want addressed in the certificate that it will be as the application appeared and as presented.
And clarify.
And maybe there are some things if we go through the notes, but yeah, presented and clarified, like the height of the addition is not higher than.
So I'm wondering, and I think if I could.
Yeah, please.
I'm wondering if perhaps, like you had talked about this a second ago, but I think it's 24 Prospect Street, could perhaps a bold list of those specifications, and then if you would ask some questions, those were clarified, right? Perhaps those could be bulleted and as presented by the applicant, these are the details of that might be, to your questions and clarifications, all those are kind of itemized in there, and that way certificates being issued, consistent with it, but subject to those clarifications on the provided, right? Just if that's what you're trying to get to, because the drawings otherwise speak to everything, but maybe these things you're trying to get, out very specifically.
Yeah, there were just like a couple little clarifying things, but also to just make sure that the certificate references the package, right? So that when anybody's going back, they can say, yeah, oh, where's those drawings? Let's look at that.
Oh, yeah, sorry, just to clarify, and again, I'm sorry, because I don't work with your a whole lot, right, but definitely in the case of any kind of certificate or decision, by the committee, I definitely would recommend, this is consistent with the rest of the boards, we can talk, we can work with others, but we definitely reference a specific set of drawings and, plans that have been submitted. To us, the record of what's been submitted, sometimes you do need to clarify if the applicant's given a ton of different drawings and one of them is newer and supersedes.
Right.
Just to prevent confusion down the road, we'll clarify it's, as revised by such and such date or something like that, just so there's no less confusion down the road. You're not gonna have that level of complexity, I think, in most of your cases. So in this case, I think just simply referencing the drawings, such and such drawing submitted by such and such architect, titled this, dated this. Very simply bullet list, we just simply bullet list those, and that can go in a decision or significant, very simple bullet list for one, along with, any findings of consistency or conditions.
Yeah, I'll pull up the one for 1618 just as a kind of a model to look at. That was a really big renovation, much larger than this. Obviously.
Yeah.
But, maybe we just want to make sure that we're capturing everything.
if you want to consult with the office at any point about that stuff, we're happy to take a look at that with us. I mean, generally speaking, I would say, be accurate, be comprehensive, right? You have to lock those details into your point. But also I would recommend just as much as possible, also being, simplifying that document. So it's not unnecessarily unwieldy or, or overly complicated that, really needs to be.
Andy,
Yeah, I think-
there isn't sort of a template.
There is, yeah, and that's why I say, like, we could follow up, again, with, so Diana, Ken and I, I mean, we basically have a template we use for a lot of our decisions. We can send you an extract of that piece of it if you wanna, modify your.
Yeah.
Template.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're not starting from.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just wonder why the
I think perhaps
16.8 one was so different.
Because 1618, because what wound up was not what was submitted, and so there
No, I
was,
know, but
there were
when it
concessions.
was approved, it was
but there were concessions made,
during the,
and there was negotiations, and I think what was issued kind of reflected those negotiations at the end of the day.
we need to clarify some things that weren't in the drawings.
Well, that actually changed things. They swapped out things and they traded off, chimneys for some other things.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big discussion.
yeah, I mean, in my mind, I'm just thinking, obviously, we should use the template and I
Yeah.
think consult with you guys on
Yeah.
that, on the form of that. In my mind, I'm just wanting to avoid the situation at 1618, which was that things were not actually done as they were
Yeah.
approved. And then it took a long time.
Gotcha. I mean, with
Yeah.
this is a pretty tight application.
Sure, but people all the time don't build things. the way
I
they-
understand that.
I'm just protecting us.
Your function is chair, would it make sense? We can provide you all with the template, so you can kind of see what the,
Great.
like, I just kind of broaden, like, think about what this event planning will use the template, right? But then we could back into just coming out of whatever, your goal here is. We could just work with you on the template, using that template to basically let's merge, your document, your certificate with the template and reference, just to kind of make it clear. Again, I think being simple as possible is just your certificate, your approval. But, to Darren's point, it's basically making a specific reference to the plans that were submitted.
Right.
And then it's clarifying if there's anything beyond that, it's a few bullet lists, with that to clarify. But again, it doesn't need to be overly complicated. It just needs to clarify the very specifics so that nobody has any ambiguity down the road
Exactly.
about what was actually approved. If there's anything, we just want to eliminate any ambiguity essentially.
Exactly.
Okay, well, do you want to do the
Sure.
bullet points, to make sure that you're comfortable with what gets in the final document?
We'll be sending that around.
Yeah, and we can then review it before it's actually issued, absolutely, right?
Diane has one.
Yeah, she probably had one, so I just don't recall if I have any.
All right, anything on those issues before we move on to the. Okay, so search for new commissioners. I've, as I mentioned to Tara before, Kevin has, said he would continue to check with, Matt Blanchett about joining as a realtor. He has not gotten back to me. He said he would follow up, but I haven't heard anything now for about the past month. So, I know he's out of town right now. So, that's the realtor thing. I know that you had an architect, right?
I talked to Jeff Perry, about 2 weeks ago. And he sounded certainly positive about it. And he said that he would talk to Eileen, because he and
Yeah.
Eileen work together.
Yeah.
I know he's been on vacation. He's supposed to get back to me. I have not heard from him. I will
Yeah, I
call
checked.
him tomorrow or email him.
I checked with Christine just to check, down in Maryville, just to see if anything came in, and she said nothing.
So I'll
Yeah.
follow up on that tomorrow. I also emailed Stephanie Nicholas, but did not tell her personally.
Yeah.
And I did not get a response to the email.
No, I emailed her a couple times and I haven't gotten a response either, which is atypical for her.
It is.
Now, I've heard expressions of interest from Jim Corkum, 24 Prospect. He's very interested in joining when he moves up here. I mean, he's not into the house yet, but he thought in September when he's up here. He's neither a realtor or an architect, but apparently we don't necessarily have to. I mean, it's preferred, but not mandated. Found out where we might. And so he's a candidate, I think. Jim Moy said if we're in a pinch, he would step back in again, although I hate to ask Jim to do it, because he's done so much. So So I mean, and these can either be alternates or. But I think Jim would be great. He's renovated a couple of story houses, including this one. He's very interested. He's got time. If it's okay, I could just suggest that he take the first step and get his resume and throws together and submit it, because if we wait too long, it's gonna take, 2 readings and all that, and we're not gonna have anybody. And I know I'm not gonna be around in September, I don't think. I'll be here next month. Not sure about September. But
I'm gonna be away for at least 2 weeks.
I'm sorry if I could just, it's worth noting, I'm sure you probably aren't aware of it, but it's worth noting that the council's process for appointment, or the confirmation of appointments can take a few weeks to.
well, that's why I was
through,
saying we
which
should.
adds to the difficulty of getting you the actual person.
Well, that's what I was saying. If we wanted Jim Perkin, for example, to come in September, we need to have him start applying now so we can get
Exactly.
the 2 readings and.
And the council, you're right, and the council actually, in the summer, there's actually like the one less meeting, and I guess, right, so it's,
Right.
it unfortunately does create a little bit of process to get the person in here, actually,
Yeah.
for useful purposes.
No, I know.
So I'm working the role of that. So,
Yeah, so. Then hopefully architect will, I mean, that'd be a great. That'd be a
I'll let
great.
you know about that.
Yeah. Anything else? I think next meeting, are we all gonna be here next meeting? The reason I ask is because, again, technically, I think within 60 days of resignations, we need to replace the officers who resigned, after the titles anyway, so we need to have an election among ourselves about president.
15th of August.
Yeah, I'll be here the 15th.
Not sure, to be honest, that
I will not be.
I'm not gonna be there. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I have it
alright.
on my schedule, but
Okay,
I'm not sure if we got a lot of weeks, weeks later, where that's the deal,
I have it on my schedule too, but I'm gonna be like.
I know we're gonna have a matter to discuss, and that's when the application for, 12 fruit comes in. On that chimney back, we're gonna have to discuss that.
so I think I am around. It's just that I have to go that day and I'll be out. I'll be away. So like the 19th, 20th. So
I mean, we could have-
I could do it. I could do it if it is before, which is.
I was gonna say we could have special, but
I'm away from the 8th, it's gonna be the 18th. Promise. Be back on the 19th. There is a historical commission meeting on the 22nd, I believe, yeah.
I could meet the 20th of August. For the following week.
Week the 20th.
I could do the 20th also. And I could do the 29th.
Is that, we'll have to check that whether we can have the space.
Yeah, I suspect that this one will be available, you're talking about the 20th, I'm looking at it again?
Yeah, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm sorry, was it another date though? Maybe it was just the 20th and,
Yeah, the 29th, I think was when Mark said.
yeah, I mean, the Energy Advisory Committee typically meets in here, and they are posted on the 29th, so they
Okay.
probably already booked this one.
Okay,
But the 20th, I suspect is available already, probably, and it probably would be easier to book them in, at least. Doesn't mean we couldn't try to get, like, the senior centers in one room, but this one is already booked later, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going back already.
okay, so, I could do the 29th too, so. Do we have a preference?
Let's do the 20th and book that we get the application. Right. It's on penalty start, apparently.
Start.
All right, so let's shoot for the 20th.
All night.
Let me, I can talk to Diane tomorrow.
Okay, you'll do that?
And all right, any motion for adjournment or any other discussion?
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded? On favor? Aye. Great.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy, for
Sandy?
taking time out of